Hey, what's already? Welcome back to News Dose, and we're already starting off the week with a bang. I know there's been a lot of negativity these past 2 months, but today we have a lot to be excited about. We have several new and upcoming games to talk about, and you're going to want to stay tuned because it's mostly good stuff, or at the very least, it gives us a reason to be hopeful for the future of gaming, and also for the future of Halo as well. So you know what? Let's just go and jump right into our first topic, starting off with a game that I hold in high regards, being Alien Isolation. This is a horror game that released last generation in 2014, and ever since its release, I've always considered it among my personal all-time favorite horror games. I thought it was a phenomenal experience and a great translation for what the iconic first Alien movie was known for. A menacing, cunning alien that hunts you down in a 1979 claustrophobic spacecraft. And at least for the first half of Isolation, that's exactly what you got. And because the AI for the Xenomorph was just handled so well, it's really just a great game. If you haven't already played it, and if you like horror games, I couldn't recommend this one enough. Go pick it up. Go thank me later. But the great news here is that Sega and Creative Assembly just announced that a sequel is, yes, in early development. Now, that is the key phrase here, though. Early in development. So we're probably not going to see it for at least a few years. And by the time we get it in our own hands, it very well could be 2028, 2029, or even beyond, just considering how long a lot of AAA games takes to make anymore. Even still, the fact that we have an Alien Isolation 2 confirmation is more than thrilling, and for that matter, Sega's at a pretty busy day overall. We actually have a lot more Sega stuff to talk about, so we might as well just go and transition to their long-running mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog. The only thing is, the Sonic team isn't quite ready to transition Sonic to next-generation consoles exclusively. In an interview, they mentioned their plans include lower-spec consoles for as long as possible. In other words, that means that you should expect future Sonic games on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and maybe even the Nintendo Switch for the foreseeable future. And I understand how some people can get a little flustered when we talk about support for older consoles. There is a large group that wants technology to just kind of move on by this point. But I think in the case of Sonic, this makes sense for really 2 different reasons. One is that Sonic isn't exactly known for pushing the boundary of what graphics are capable of. It's a series that can easily run on older hardware, and from there, it can scale up to 60 FPS with higher detail. The other thing, though, is just the fact that a lot of people are still on older hardware. I mean, Sony themselves earlier this year confirmed that 50% of their user base is still on the PlayStation 4. And I think for a lot of parents, they'll be very appreciative that they can still get their kids new Sonic games without, breaking the bank. So truthfully, I kind of see this as a non-issue, but let me know what you all think about this in the comments below. Now, we also actually got some halfway decent news for Ubisoft. I mean, they really need something positive going for them right now, and while their new games might not be cutting it, they do have some exciting remakes on the way. Of course, they have Splinter Cell. I'm really hoping they do that one justice. They also have Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, and now allegedly, an Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake is also on the way, and according to Insider Gaming, it could be out sooner than expected. According to their sources, they were initially targeting a November 2025 launch. Now, that may have since changed with the delay for Shadows. That kind of remains to be seen, but what I can say here is that Black Flag is a fan favorite for the Assassin's Creed series. Black Flag or the Ezio trilogy are usually viewed as the best of the best. I'm definitely on the side of 2 and Brotherhood, but either which way. Black Flag is a great game, and I think a remake could have some potential. Visuals have definitely improved a lot since its release in 2013. It was a cross-generation game that supported the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. So, as long as Ubisoft can remain faithful to the original, it could end up being a worthy upgrade over the already beloved Assassin's Creed Black Flag. This could also maybe be an early glimpse for what Ubisoft wants to do with the Assassin's Creed franchise, though. We know for a fact they're ramping up their Assassin's Creed offering. This is their cash cow right now. And what that could potentially mean is that this might not be their only remake planned. There is a chance that they could do these remakes in between some of their bigger releases. Okay, so let's go and move on over to the future of Halo, because they just had a big event over the weekend that was far more interesting than what I think most of us were expecting. And what I'm going to do here is first look at the immediate future, and that's for Halo Infinite. And a bit of a surprise, they announced a new third-person camera view for Halo Infinite. And apparently this is actually going to release next month in November. So this is right around the corner, and you can see some of its gameplay here. I think it looks good for what it is. I do like third-person games, but there is that question of how this will be implemented in a title like Halo that's bound specifically for first-person. And apparently, they clarified that third person will be supported at the mode level, and that with Forge controls, modes can switch individual players or all players between first and third person perspective whenever desired. So I assume this won't be a situation where third person is available in every game mode, because if that was the case, then that would be a problem. Third person view does have the advantage of corner peeking, so they have to kind of go about this carefully in that manner. But if anything else here, this will be a new addition to maybe attract an audience that does prefer third person. But then they broke the big news that we've all been waiting for: the next chapter for Halo. It's been 3 years since the release of Halo Infinite, and since then, there's been a lot of questions about the future of Halo under 343 Industries. Well, apparently, Halo will no longer be under 343, because instead, they just rebranded their studio to Halo Studios. Now, they kind of described it as a new beginning for the Halo franchise, and that also means shaking up the very fabric for their studio, which includes a new name and also a new engine. Yes, it's official. They scrapped their in-house engine, Slipspace. I mean, they spent years working on this engine, but it kind of caused them a lot of problems. Not necessarily because it's a bad engine per se, but one thing that we have consistently heard about is that Slipspace caused problems for their contract workers. They use a lot of contract workers, and what was happening is that these workers had to spend a large portion of their contract just simply learning the engine as opposed to actually working on the game. So they're going to move away from that and instead go for something that the industry is more knowledgeable about, and of course, that's Unreal Engine 5. Now, just because of how they work and how they utilize their workforce, I think this is the right call. Theoretically, this should accelerate development time, and Unreal Engine 5 is a good engine. There's a reason that it's so popular, and I think it will actually get even better next generation when consoles are a little bit more capable of running some of its more demanding features. But they did tease how Halo will look using Unreal Engine 5, and based on the small snippets that they showed, it looks incredible. The scenery was absolutely stunning, and they also gave us our first look at the Halo 1 Master Chief using Unreal Engine 5. I think that in itself might be a tease for what's to come next. There has been a rumor going around that they're currently remaking Halo 1, and this does kind of lean right into that. For that matter, Halo Studios confirmed that they have multiple projects in development and that they're also expanding their workforce to get the jobs done. So I'd say, if anything else here, if you like Halo, this is a good sign in the sense that Microsoft is still 100% prioritizing the franchise. Now, whether those games will reach our expectations, that still remains to be seen. 343's reputation is mixed at best, but I think there's a reason to at least be hopeful. The move to Unreal Engine, I think that's the right call, and despite what the next completely new Halo game will be, a remake for Halo 1 using Unreal Engine 5, I think that could potentially be incredible. It's fairly difficult to mess up a remake, let alone one that's as special as Halo 1. Okay, now one last thing before we go, and I am absolutely thrilled about this. It's not really been the best year for gaming, but the month of October is kind of making up for that. Last week, we talked about Silent Hill 2 and Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred. Both of those games are reviewing very well. Silent Hill 2 has an 87, and Vessel of Hatred has an 85. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, though, or if those games just simply don't interest you, then, well, we have two more games that are also getting high acclaim. One is Metaphor Refantazio. It currently has a 94, yes, a 94 overall score on Metacritic. So it's getting universal praise. I have consistently heard that its story is amazing, its characters are phenomenal, its combat is excellent, it's got good voice acting, and its visuals are stunning. So if you like JRPGs, or if you just like the Persona series, because this is coming from the former Persona 3, 4, and 5 team, just under a new studio name, then yeah, Refantazio appears to be a must-play experience. Now, if you're still on the fence though, there is a beefy demo that you can download for free, and your save data will transfer to the full game if you decide to purchase it. I think this is all kind of amusing though, because there has been this really weird narrative going around that there's just been no interest for Refantazio because of its Xbox marketing deal. I think that's just crazy talk. Like I said last week, this is a new IP, so people are waiting to see how it reviews first. I mean, it's not like people don't know about its existence. It's just that new IPs don't really get as much attention, and that's a pretty normal thing. Now that it's got a 94 overall score, though, yeah, it's getting a lot more attention, especially considering its connection with the Persona series. And like clockwork, as I expected, its pre-orders shot up the Steam chart this morning, and it is currently now the number 5 pay-to-play game on Steam's global charts, up from 17 when we talked about this last week. I mean, maybe, just maybe, I know a thing or two about gaming. And then speaking of topping the charts, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is still at the number 1 spot, and for good reason. It's also reviewing very well with an 83 overall score. This makes it the second best reviewed Dragon Ball game of all time, only behind Dragon Ball FighterZ, which got an 87, and deservedly so. That is a fantastic game as well. But yes, it sounds like Sparking Zero is a great game for Dragon Ball fans. I mean, who knew that if you cater towards your fans, then you might have success? It's funny how that works. Maybe other companies should take notes here. But nonetheless, now it's just kind of, which one of these games should you start with first? There's a lot of good games just for this week alone, so let me know which one you want the most, if any of these interest you at all. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and until next time, peace out.